Check the mic and make sure it sound right.
Hi, I'm DK Will. This is DK Will. Talk about it. Let's try to get through this speech because there's a lot of things going on that might be video worthy. But for now, I'm going to finish the coverage of this speech, the actual speech itself, and now we're getting to the meat of the matter. On this third segment, we're going to start where he starts actually talking about the license he gave to two particular coins. And it starts here where Hinman said, "And so when I look at Bitcoin today, I do not see a central third party whose efforts are a key determining factor in the enterprise." Well, Bitcoin was created and let loose, basically, is what it was done. It says the network on which Bitcoin functions is operational and appears to have been decentralized for some time, perhaps from inception by the United States government. Applying the disclosure regime of the federal securities laws to offer and resell a Bitcoin would seem to add little value. That's all very true. And putting aside the fundraising, now that's the key phrase. And putting aside the fundraising that accompanied the creation of Ether. Okay, I'm going to hold up right there for a moment, folks, because see, that is the SEC's job. Right there. Not to put aside it, but to oversee it, regulate it, and manage it appropriately. But he goes on to say, based on my understanding of the present state of Ether, the Ethereum network and its decentralized structure, current offers and sales of Ethers are not securities transactions. And, as with Bitcoin, applying the disclosure regime of the federal securities laws to current transactions in Ether would seem to add little value. Over time, there may be other sufficiently decentralized networks and systems. Okay, over time, there may be other sufficiently decentralized networks and systems. We know who that was already. Not over time, it existed. It was XRP. Where regulating the tokens or coins that function on them as securities may not be required. And I've talked about that in the prior videos. And of course, there will continue to be systems that rely on central actors whose efforts are a key to the success of the enterprise. Garlinghouse has said many times. David Schwartz has said it. It's just the truth. Many players in Ripple have said it because it's the truth. XBRL, the ledger, and the on-demand liquidity is a proprietary item, but the Ripple exchange ledger and XRP would function if Ripple ceased to exist right now. If Ripple, the company, ceased to exist, the platform, the decentralized network, would continue. That's just a fact. So, there is no central actors on whose efforts are key to the success of the enterprise. Ripple's key to success is on the success of Ripple and utilizing the applications. But the application has no bearing on whether it's successful or not based on Ripple. Did you know there's a Bitcoin.org website? Talking about a Satoshi Nakamoto and a Marty Malmi, what we've seen on many other programs, that there's 4 players involved, that the SEC knew who they were way back when, that somebody even went and met with them. The Bitcoin was created as a precursor to XRP. It was the Kleenex of tissue. It was the Coca-Cola of soda. It was the McDonald's of fast food restaurants. Okay, that's what Bitcoin was. And like I said before, people have demonstrated that they are willing to spend lots of money for computer code that they don't even hold in their possession. When you say I own Bitcoin, you don't have a single coin in your pocket. But Bitcoin has a .org, and that sounds centralized. Now what it does and how it does it, I don't know. And I don't care. What I care about is the man was unfair. Did you know that Ethereum has a .org? Welcome to the Ethereum community. Centralized. That seems so centralized to me. In my earlier illustration about oil itself doesn't have a .org, does it? And does oil have a .org? No, it doesn't, folks. But interestingly enough, there is no .org for Ripple. It's a .com because it's a business. And the .org would have to be xrp.org. And when I put xrp.org in my browser, it scared me and I had to run away. But I'm going to do it right here in front of you. And I'm going to put xrp.org. And I get this. So of course I'm going to go back, because that sounds like a big trap to ruin my life. Keep that in mind when we talk about this man talking about centralized third parties, key to the success of an enterprise, and where he chose Ether as a winner. Because Bitcoin, nobody's going to do anything to Bitcoin, not yet, but Bitcoin will have its day. He goes on to say, I would like to emphasize that the analysis of whether something is a security is not static. It does not strictly adhere to the instrument. Even digital assets with utility that function solely as means of exchange in a decentralized network. Who's he talking about? Even digital assets with utility that function solely as a means of exchange in a decentralized network could be packaged and sold as an investment strategy that can be a security. If the promoter were to place Bitcoin in a fund or trust, which many have tried to get EFTs for Bitcoin, and sell interest, it would create a new security. Similarly, investment contracts can be made out of virtually any asset, including virtual assets, providing the investor is reasonably expecting profits from the promoter's efforts. Well, folks, clearly this man had an agenda. We'll read on. He says, let me emphasize an earlier point. Simply labeling a digital asset a utility token does not turn the asset into something that is not a security. Recognize the Supreme Court has acknowledged that if someone is purchasing an asset for consumption only, it's likely not a security. But the economic substance of the transaction always determines the legal analysis, not the labels. Then it talks about the oranges. Folks, I could say the same about baseball cards. Couldn't I? I could say the same about collector's plates. They even have collector's dolls in comic books, folks. I could say the same about a lot of things that are bought and sold with an expectation of profit that are not securities. And in fact, one of the most depreciating assets on earth, which is an automobile. You buy an automobile, you drive it off the lot. In almost all cases, it's worth less than it was before you drove it off the lot. But many still invest in automobiles because in 25 years to 50 years, they can turn from a regular automobile to a classic or an antique, and all of a sudden, that car that you paid, say, $3,000 for as a Mustang back in 1970 is now worth $250,000. So this is manipulating things to achieve a goal, and the goal here was to choose winners and losers. Continuing on, he gives one of what he calls his favorite example, which is a whiskey warehouse receipts. But what I want to bring attention to here is he says, in my favorite example, my personalize it first person, my favorite example. Let me emphasize as an earlier point. I would like to emphasize, he goes on to say here, when I look at Bitcoin today, I do not see. See, he got wrapped up in the moment of promoting his winner that he forgot to say I. And so when he moves on to the next point here, where he says promoters and other market participants, we're going to start there. He says promoters and other market participants need to understand whether transactions in a particular digital asset involve the sale of a security. We, we are happy to help promoters and their counsel work through these issues. We stand prepared to provide some formal interpretive or no action guidance about the proper characterization of a digital asset and a proposed use. Really? You're going to dictate their business plan as well? Paragraph. In addition, we recognize that there are numerous implications under the federal securities laws of a particular asset being considered a security. He goes on to say our division of trading and markets and investment management are focused on such issues as broker-dealer exchange and fund registration, as well as matters of market manipulation, custody, and valuation. We understand that market participants are working to make their services compliant with the existing regulatory framework, and we are happy to continue our engagement in this process. I've said it before in a comment, I'll say it again. When these commissioners speak, and I know that it's changed recently, they always give their preface that, their disclaimer that I'm only speaking for myself and I'm not speaking to the commission kind of crap. And my position on that, folks, is then who cares what you have to say? Because the whole purpose of anyone having you speak is to get the SEC's position so that people can follow the law, so that people can create businesses that are in harmony with the law and that are adhering to the regulations. But they give you this opaque, cloudy stuff. And even the next part here, folks, it says, what are some of the factors to consider in assessing whether a digital asset is offered as an investment contract and is thus a security? He gives a list. Is this his personal list? Or is this the Securities and Exchange Commission's list? Whose list is it, Mr. Hinman? He says it depends on particular facts and circumstances. This list is illustrative, not exhaustive, but here's the list. 1. Is there a person or a group that has sponsored or promoted the creation and sale of the digital asset, the efforts of whom play a significant role in the development and maintenance of the asset and its potential increase in value? 2. Has this person or group retained a stake or other interest in a digital asset such that it would be motivated to expend efforts to cause an increase in value in the digital asset? Would purchasers reasonably believe such efforts would be undertaken and may result in a return on their investment in the digital asset? Okay, what I'm seeing here is trying to corral the crypto and blockchain technology and make it understandable to the good old boys. It's a little too advanced for us, and we need it to fit our mold so that we can understand it. And for us to understand it, we need to know what you're up to and what you're doing. That is not creative, folks, and that is not innovative. That is stifling innovation. That is stifling innovation, in my mind. Okay. Has a promoter raised an amount of funds in excess of what may be needed to establish a functional network? And if so, has it indicated how these funds may be used to support the value of the tokens or to increase the value of the enterprise? Does the promoter continue to expend funds from proceeds or operations to enhance the functionality and or value of the system with which the token operates? This is also arbitrary. But as I said earlier, Ripple went through series fundings with private investments, venture capitalists, and things of that nature. And their possession of XRP had nothing to do with the creation of and sale of the digital asset. As a matter of fact, lately they haven't sold anything in the markets for a couple of years now, and they've been buying it, buying it back, because folks, here's the real, put it in a nutshell. And you may not like what I'm going to say, but Ripple is just as much as in bed with this crap and this drama and this movie show we're watching than everyone else. Now, there are those who want to see the United States succeed, and there are those who want to see the United States fail. But you don't gain the audience of the central banks of the world like we've seen before with Ripple. You don't gain that type of audience. You don't stand up and speak in front of them and the IMF and the World Bank and those types of things. When you're just a startup from San Francisco, everybody. No, Bitcoin was a precursor. XRP is the final product. The final product to initiate an entirely new global financial system. It's not the last product. It's the final product to initiate. But technology is going to keep growing. And something better may even come along. But for now, this is where it's at. Sorry for the detour. Are purchasers investing, that is, seeking a return? In that regard, is the instrument marketed and sold to the general public instead of potential users of the network for a price that reasonably correlates with the market value of the good or service in the network? Okay, I understand certain protections are needed against fraud, and certain protections are needed against embezzlement and misrepresentations and Ponzi schemes. But it is insulting when they refer to the general public that we need to be educated and schooled and protected from making our own investments and taking our own risks. Because some people have a higher taste for risk than others. And I think they go over bounds when they want to talk about protections. Because what they really are saying is, we're not really protecting the retail investor. We're protecting the worthy ones we consider investors when they say the general public, institutions. We're protecting accredited investors even. But we don't want the regular public retail investor to have access, to have the wherewithal, to have the kahunas, to take a risk that will bring them the type of substantial gains that we normally get every day. We want them to believe that the only gains you can get are 0.05 on a savings account, even though we gain 5 or 10% on the same monies that we're giving them 0.05 on. That's what's really going on. Sorry again. Does the application of the Securities Act protections make sense? Is there a person or entity others are relying on that plays a key role in the profit making of the enterprise, such that disclosure of their activities and plans will be important to investors? Do informational asymmetries exist between the promoters and potential purchasers, investors in the digital assets? Is there prospectus? Do persons or entities other than the promoter exercise governance rights or meaningful influence? Yes, with crypto, voters. The more coins, the more vote. So that's a yes. Now we're getting to the end of it, so I guess I'll finish this out, folks. And this will be the last one. I thought it would be 2. I think this is already 20 minutes long. Okay, let's keep going. While these factors are important in analyzing the role of any third party, there are contractual or technical ways to structure digital assets so they function more like a consumer item and less like a security. Again, we would look to the economic substance of the transaction, but promoters and their counsels should consider these and other possible features. Again, we would look to the economic substance. This list is not intended to be exhaustive, and by no means do I believe, he's wrapping it up now. Do I believe each and every one of these factors needs to be present to establish a case that a token is not being offered as security. This list is meant to prompt thinking by promoters and their counsel, and start the dialogue with the staff. It is not meant to be a list of all necessary factors in a legal analysis. He cleaned that up, didn't he? But he still has more lists to go. Is the token creation commensurate with meeting the needs of users, or rather with feeding speculation? What's wrong with speculation? What's wrong with speculation? Casinos are legal. Are independent actors selling the price, or is the promoter supporting the secondary market for the asset or otherwise influencing trading? Is it clear that the primary motivation for purchasing digital assets is for personal use or consumption as compared to investment? Have purchasers made representations as to their consumptive as opposed to their investment intent? Are the tokens available in increments that correlate with a consumptive versus investment intent? Are the tokens distributed in ways that meet users' needs? For example, can the tokens be held or transferred only in amounts that correspond to a purchaser's expected use? Sounds like you can't have more than you need, right? Are they going to come after our XRP? Are there built-in incentives that compel using the token promptly on the network, such as having the tokens degrade in value over time? Or can the tokens be held for extended periods for investment? Man, that's another clue, folks. Use it or lose it. It's coming. That's why they want CBDCs. They have control. You spend it in X amount of time and keep this economy machine rolling, or we'll just take it from you and give it to somebody who will spend it. You can forget about saving. You can forget about owning. You don't own nothing and you'll be happy. You'll be spending. Haven't we trained you and prompted you and what's the word? Groomed you with our materialistic television commercials and everything to make you want to spend, so that you can feed our economic machine? Wake up, people. Oh, and as I speak about it, is the asset marketed and distributed to the potential users or the general public? What's the difference? Are the assets dispersed across a diverse user base or concentrated in the hands of a few that can exert influence over the application? If you own it, why shouldn't you be able to do that? Is the application fully functional or in early stages of development? You better take a look at Ethereum. They keep having revamps just recently, right? There was one in 2015, and then there was another one just recently. So it wasn't a fully developed enterprise, was it? A decentralized enterprise. And when the government went and recaptured Bitcoin, it showed that it's not decentralized either. These are exciting legal times, and I am pleased to be part of the process that can help promoters of this new technology and their council navigate and comply with federal securities laws. Okay, that's the end of this, and I'm glad I'm done doing it, to be honest with you, because there's other things to talk about. Because then they go to do what they normally do, and they disclaim everything he said, even though he said we. There's a lot of things going on out there that we can talk about besides this, and I got this one done because I said I'd do it, and now it's done. But he's not even in office anymore. And there's no need to comply with federal securities laws unless you're a security. So this is obviously a power grab, folks. Because nobody has determined whether it's securities or not. And I made a comment about a year or so or more ago that it would be Congress or the Treasury or both who determines where to place cryptocurrencies, including XRP. And that's what's happening. So what do I anticipate going forward from here and looking at this speech? Because, he gave a lot of clues, and this was just a clue to the people, hey, get rich fast off of this because it's not going to last. And so a lot of people did make Ethereum money, and you're not going to, they're trying to hide it and find it, and maybe that's in the emails. But what's really going on here, folks, is Congress is going to decide. XRP is going to get the go ahead because XRP is a world value. And the only thing the U.S. will do is hurt itself by not getting on board. But I think the U.S. knows that. And if you go back to some of my earliest videos, you will see that I suspected that even then. And if we go to some of my earliest videos, we'll just go to my content. And I don't know how to get there real fast, but I'm going to get there as fast as I can. You can look at all my business. This is the what do you call it, the studio. And let's go to the end here. You'll see all the types of videos that have been done. Because a long time, I just thought about it, and I'm doing it on the fly. So right here, man, right here. This one. XRP is the United States nuclear bomb in this financial war. And other countries are willingly taking on the fuses. No bogey. To set this bomb off on their homeland under the form of on-demand liquidity, CBDCs, bogey be quiet, and XRP, the XRPL. I suggest you watch this video. It's old, but it's timely. Just look for the mushroom cloud, because the time has come. So we'll see what's in these videos. I mean, these emails. Or maybe we won't. Maybe that's why everything's going to stop on June 13th. I'm sorry I came back upstairs to finish this off, so you'll hear Bogey saying goodbye just like me. The Hinman emails are a clue that William Hinman's the fall guy. And he got blinded by the money. And he didn't think far enough ahead. Now he's going to get thrown under the bus. And his schizophrenic, dissociative multi-personality, I, we, she type talking is not going to matter. The SEC is going to need a scapegoat, but the SEC is going to perish as well. The reason being is the financial system is going to go global. It's going to be a global currency reset. And folks, gold is going to kill the Fed. That's just the reality. So I encourage you to look at my playlists, like and subscribe. My videos are timely, and the time has come. I'm DK Will. This is DK Will Talk About It, and I've talked about it. Have a wonderful day.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.